Hey guys, tonight we drift far beyond warm shorelines into waters few dare to imagine, let alone survive. The Southern Ocean is a realm of cold silence, of skies that bleed gray over a sea that never sleeps. Imagine this. The sky is bruised with low Antarctic light, the wind slicing sideways with the precision of a blade, and the sea. The sea is a living thing, restless and relentless, deep as memory and just as cruel. Your ship cuts through black water like a splinter. Ice crusts the railings. The fog tastes metallic. You're bundled in layers, but the wind finds its way in, always does. You step outside to inspect a minor issue with one of the hydraulic braces on the aft side. Nothing serious, just routine, something you've done 100 times. This time, though, the sea is not in a forgiving mood. You probably won't survive this. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And tell me, where are you listening from tonight, and what time is it where you are? Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The first mistake is trusting your balance. You've done this inspection before. Tighten the brace. Check the coupling. Nothing fancy. But today, a rogue swell slaps the hull sideways harder than expected. Your knees buckle. One gloved hand misses its grip. The world tilts. Then it happens. You fall, not far, just over the rail, but far enough. Your foot clips the edge, and for a half second, your brain can't process what's happening. The sky spins. The sound of the engine muffles. And then you hit the water. It feels like falling through glass. There's no splash, no comedic flail, just impact and silence and cold that doesn't feel like cold. It feels like absence, like everything has been stripped from your skin. You sink for a second or maybe longer. You forget which way is up. The suit fills with water. Your limbs stop obeying commands. The cold isn't a sensation, it's a possession. Your first breath isn't air, it's panic. You break the surface with a gasp so loud it sounds like a scream. The ship is there briefly, then the swell blocks your view. You kick hard, trying to stay above the chop, but already your arms feel heavy. You shout. Once, twice, no one hears. Or if they do, it doesn't matter. The ship isn't stopping. You watch the stern light fade into mist like a candle being pinched out. And just like that, you are alone in the Southern Ocean. A maritime fact. Antarctic waters often hover just above freezing, typically between 2 degrees and 2 degrees. Human survival in this temperature without protection. 15 minutes, maybe less. You start counting, not aloud, not even consciously, just this internal rhythm, like your body is tracking how much time it has left. You try not to panic. That's adorable, because every wave now feels like a fist. Every breath costs more energy. Your gloves are soaked and useless. Your legs don't kick, they just tremble. You spin in the water, desperate, looking for anything. That's when you see it. A buoy. Small, maybe a weather float. A sensor, something orange and bobbing on the surface. 40 feet away, maybe more. You lunge. Your strokes are weak, pathetic. You gasp with every surge. The waves don't care. They push and spin you like driftwood. But something inside you refuses to quit. You aim for the buoy like it's oxygen itself. A joke surfaces, just a flicker of memory. Your brother once said you swim like an injured seal. You'd laugh, tossed a towel at him. Now that seal's fighting for its life. You reach the buoy. Fingers slip the first time. The second time you grab metal. You scream less from effort, more from disbelief. You hold on. It's not much. Just a floating cylinder, slick with algae and ice. But it holds your weight, barely. You throw one arm around it, panting. The sea slaps your back and the cold continues its crawl into your bones. But you're alive, for now. The sky hangs low above you, thick with cloud and seagull gray. The waves grow quieter but not calmer. It's that eerie stillness before the next shift. A quirky ocean fact. Some Antarctic buoys are programmed to send surface temperature data every 15 minutes, but never distress signals. No one knows you're here. Knows. Not yet. You hug the buoy tighter. The silence around you is enormous. It doesn't feel like rescue. It feels like waiting. You don't remember how long you've been clinging to the buoy before the pain sets in. Not the sharp kind that makes you scream, but the deep, gnawing cold that moves in slow and cruel. It starts in your fingertips, works its way into your wrists, then crawls up your arms like frostbite has claws. You try to wiggle your toes, nothing. The boots are flooded. You feel like you're wearing blocks of ice instead of feet. The buoy shifts under your weight, bobbing with every lazy swell. You keep both arms wrapped around its body cheek, pressed to the metal skin slick with frozen spray. Your breath fogs against it. Every gust of wind makes you wince. You've stopped screaming. Your voice gave up before your hands did. The ship is gone now, fully, completely, no lights, no trail, just a memory. You start to talk to yourself. Not full sentences, just fragments. Okay, hold on. You've got this. Phrases that mean nothing but keep your teeth from chattering so loudly you can't think. You wonder if they've realized you're missing. You'd like to believe they have. You'd like to believe that right now someone's backtracking, calling your name, logging coordinates, turning the boat around. But the rational part of you, the cold, calculating part that's not numb yet, knows better. You weren't clipped in. You weren't on the schedule. You stepped out without saying anything, just a quick check, just a 5-minute job. You could be anywhere by now. The current in this part of the world is vicious sly. It doesn't drag you. It escorts you with a deceptively slow glide, pulling you further and further from where you think you started. Sailors still argue whether the Southern Ocean is a true ocean, or just the place where all the others meet in conspiracy. Either way, you're in it, and it wants to keep you. Or in. You try to lift yourself higher on the buoy. Your chest muscles scream in protest. Your gloves slip. You slam back down into the water with a splash that feels personal. You curse low and bitter, not at the ocean, at yourself, for being sloppy, for trusting the moment, for not checking the tether. You wonder what the safety officer would say. Probably something like cold kills judgment before it kills people. You grit your teeth. You're not dead yet. You shift again, managing to drape one arm through the metal handle on the side of the buoy. It's better. Less effort to hold on. You tuck your knees in, which feels useless but makes you feel less exposed. A trick of posture. The horizon's gone. Fog creeping in like wool soaked in ice. The light is fading fast, and it's not even late. Down here, near the Antarctic shelf, the day dies young and without warning. It starts to snow. Not heavily, just a dusting like the sky's apologizing for what it's about to do. You watch the flakes hit the water and vanish instantly. None stick, none melt. They just disappear. That's what this place does, erases. No storm, no drama, just a clean, wet removal of anything not meant to survive. You feel it in your hands first. They stop responding. Your fingers are there, but they don't belong to you anymore. You clench and they stay open. You try to flex them and they do half-heartedly, like someone else is operating the machinery now. You mutter something, then bite your lip hard to stay awake. You won't sleep, not here, not yet. You start counting again. 1, 2, 3. It doesn't matter what number you're aiming for. It's just something to do. You remember a joke from a crewmate. There's two kinds of cold, the kind you dress for and the kind you confess to. This is the latter. You confess, quietly. I'm scared, you whisper. There's no shame in it. The sea's heard worse. A strange calm washes over you. Not peace, just exhaustion disguised as acceptance. You stare into the gray and wonder what would happen if you just let go. Then the buoy creaks, just slightly. And it's enough to remind you you're still here. You don't remember how long you've been clinging to the buoy before the pain sets in. Not the sharp kind that makes you scream, but the deep, gnawing cold that moves in slow and cruel. It starts in your fingertips, works its way into your wrists, then crawls up your arms like frostbite has claws. You try to wiggle your toes, nothing. The boots are flooded. You feel like you're wearing blocks of ice instead of feet. The buoy shifts under your weight, bobbing with every lazy swell. You keep both arms wrapped around its body cheek, pressed to the metal skin, slick with frozen spray. Your breath fogs against it. Every gust of wind makes you wince. You've stopped screaming. Your voice gave up before your hands did. The ship is gone now, fully, completely. No lights, no trail, just a memory. You start to talk to yourself. Not full sentences, just fragments. Okay. Okay. Hold on, you've got this. Phrases that mean nothing but keep your teeth from chattering so loudly you can't think. You wonder if they've realized you're missing. You'd like to believe they have. You'd like to believe that right now someone's backtracking, calling your name, logging coordinates, turning the boat around. But the rational part of you, the cold calculating part that's not numb yet, knows better. You weren't clipped in. You weren't on the schedule. You stepped out without saying anything, just a quick check, just a 5-minute job. You could be anywhere by now. The current in this part of the world is vicious sly. It doesn't drag you, it escorts you with a deceptively slow glide, pulling you further and further from where you think you started. Sailors still argue whether the Southern Ocean is a true ocean, or just the place where all the others meet in conspiracy. Either way, you're in it, and it wants to keep you. You try to lift yourself higher on the buoy. Your chest muscles scream in protest. Your gloves slip. You slam back down into the water with a splash that feels personal. You curse low and bitter, not at the ocean, at yourself, for being sloppy, for trusting the moment, for not checking the tether. You wonder what the safety officer would say. Probably something like cold kills judgment before it kills people. You grit your teeth. You're not dead yet. You shift again, managing to drape one arm through the metal handle on the side of the buoy. It's better. Less effort to hold on. You tuck your knees in, which feels useless but makes you feel less exposed. A trick of posture. The horizon's gone. Fog creeping in like wool soaked in ice. The light is fading fast, and it's not even late. Down here near the Antarctic shelf, the day dies young and without warning. It starts to snow. Not heavily, just a dusting, like the sky's apologizing for what it's about to do. You watch the flakes hit the water and vanish instantly. None stick, none melt. They just disappear. That's what this place does, erases. No storm, no drama, just a clean, wet removal of anything not meant to survive. You feel it in your hands first. They stop responding. Your fingers are there, but they don't belong to you anymore. You clench and they stay open. You try to flex them and they do half-heartedly, like someone else is operating the machinery now. You mutter something, then bite your lip hard to stay awake. You won't sleep, not here, not yet. You start counting again. 1, 2, 3. It doesn't matter what number you're aiming for. It's just something to do. You remember a joke from a crewmate. There's 2 kinds of cold, the kind you dress for and the kind you confess to. This is the latter. You confess quietly. I'm scared, you whisper. There's no shame in it, the sea's heard worse. A strange calm washes over you. Not peace, just exhaustion disguised as acceptance. You stare into the gray and wonder what would happen if you just let go. Then the buoy creaks, just slightly, and it's enough to remind you you're still here. The buoy rocks, and with it so do your thoughts. They start to shift in odd directions like little boats loosed from a dock, drifting wherever the current of your brain carries them. You try to hold on to the present, but the past keeps slipping in unwelcome and unstoppable. You think about sandwiches. Yeah, sandwiches. The good kind stacked thick with mustard and meat, maybe a pickle on the side. You remember one in particular, something you ate in Ushuaia before the expedition started. Warm bread, real lettuce, a beer so cold it hurts your teeth. You almost laugh. That sandwich feels more real than this water, than this buoy. Maybe because you never expected to be here. Not like this. Not alone. You shift your weight, trying to relieve the ache in your rib cage. Your muscles scream again, but they're muffled now, like someone's turned the volume down on pain. It's not a good sign. A mainstream maritime fact. After prolonged exposure to cold water, say 2 hours or more, your body begins cold diuresis. In simple terms, you start losing water faster than normal. It's your body's way of trying to warm itself, but it leads straight into dehydration, which ironically starts to make you feel warm. You cling harder to the buoy as a fresh shiver rocks your spine. Around you, the sea has flattened. It's not calm, it's waiting. The wind has dropped off too, which somehow makes everything worse. You can hear yourself breathe now. Hear the icy creaks in your joints. Hear your own heartbeat flutter like a trapped moth in your chest. The fog is thicker. You can't see 10 feet in any direction. It's like you've been dropped into a snow globe filled with milk and ice shards. You blink slowly. Everything is shades of gray, except the buoy. That's still a dull, ugly orange. Your lifeline. A joke surfaces soft and strange. At least it's not chartreuse. Your brother once painted his kayak that color. You told him it looked like a banana in a panic attack. You chuckle, then choke. The laugh used up more air than you expected. You cough hard, ribs rattling, head spinning. When it settles, you lean your head against the buoy again, cheek pressed to the cold metal, like you're trying to apologize to it for laughing. Sorry, you whisper. Didn't mean to wake the sea gods. Another joke, thin, fraying. You try to keep your eyes open, but they keep trying to shut. You slap your face. Twice. It helps, a little. Then a sound. Low, guttural, almost wet. You freeze. Something moved. You scan the fog. Can't see a thing. Then you hear it again. This time closer. Not a splash, not a wave. A grunt. Animal? And for a second, just a second, your heart leaps. Not with fear, with hope. Because maybe it's people. A boat. Divers. But no. A shape glides just beneath the surface. Broad. Smooth. Gray-brown. It curves upward and disappears again. A seal. Maybe a leopard seal. Maybe something bigger. You tense up. They're not aggressive, usually. But usually doesn't mean much when you're a soft human clinging to a bobbing drum in a predator's pantry. The water stirs again. Then silence. You don't know whether to be relieved or disappointed. The seal was the first living thing you've seen in hours. Maybe you imagined it. Sailors still argue whether hallucinations at sea are warnings or invitations. Either way, you're definitely on the guest list. You close your eyes again just for a second. Promise yourself you won't sleep. You lie, because somewhere in that thick fog of exhaustion and cold and memory, you do. You drift, only a little. And when you wake, the sea is darker, and your hands no longer feel like hands. The return to waking is not a jolt. It's a slow, eerie crawl, like resurfacing from a dream where everything was quiet and forgiving. You open your eyes to nothing, just fog and the faint hiss of wind brushing the water like silk over glass. Your first thought isn't where am I, it's how long, and that's the problem. There's no sun to check, no movement of shadow. Time doesn't exist here, just wet and cold and the aching stillness of a world that doesn't remember you're in it. Your fingers are locked now. You try to uncurl them from the buoy and nothing happens. It takes your whole arm to lift one limb from its resting place, and even then the skin clings to the frozen metal like it doesn't want to leave. Your shoulder protests. Your neck won't turn fully. It's like your body has signed some secret contract with the water. If you go still, I'll let you live. But that's not living, you mutter through cracked lips. No words, just noise. Anything to remind yourself that you're still human, still conscious. Then you remember, no one saw you fall. No one turned back. You're still alone, and the ship is long gone. You look in every direction again, habit by now. No lights, no shapes, just fog so thick it feels like fabric hanging between you and any kind of salvation. You close your eyes again, not from sleep but from instinct. Your brain trying to minimize output, trying to hold on. You feel the buoy creak, just slightly. Your body weight shifting it, or maybe the water playing games. You reach out again, make sure your arm is still looped through the handle. It is. You want to cry, but your eyes are too dry. A mainstream maritime fact. Crying in cold air and salt spray often results in frozen tears. They crystallize against your lashes if they make it out at all. So maybe that's a blessing. You don't want your own grief turning to frost on your face. You focus on your breathing, one inhale, one exhale, again. You try to remember how many hours the human body can endure in these conditions. You recall numbers 24, maybe 36 in survival suits. But you're not in a full suit. You're in partial gear. And the water doesn't care about the tag on your jacket. The fog presses in tighter. And then out of nowhere, a sound. Not a wave, not an animal. A horn. Low, deep, distant. You freeze. A ship, it has to be. You twist your head toward the sound, ignoring the screaming in your spine. You can't see anything, but you hear it again. One long blast. then another. It's moving, not toward you, parallel maybe. Close enough to feel, but far enough that they won't see your head above the swells. You scream, or try to. Your voice cracks in your throat like brittle wood. You cough, suck in air, and scream again louder this time. Hey! Another horn blast. Closer. Hey! Nothing. No engine, no response. You reach for the flare in your vest pocket, but remember there isn't one. You weren't suited up for falling in. You were suited up for tightening a brace. You pound your free hand against the buoy. Water splashes, useless. The fog holds its ground. The horn sounds one final time. Then silence. Gone. Like it was never there. You listen, straining for one more blast, one more signal. But all you hear is the lap of water and your own labored breathing. You scream one more time, and the fog answers with nothing. A quirky ocean fact. Sound travels faster and farther in water than air, but in fog it becomes deceptive. Ships can sound like they're behind you when they're ahead, or closer than they are, or nowhere at all. You slump against the buoy, exhausted, not from the effort, from the loss. You came so close, and the sea didn't flinch. You close your eyes again, letting the numbness stretch farther inside. You tell yourself you're not giving up, just resting, just pausing. But part of you knows the clock is ticking louder now, and you're not sure how many minutes are left. When your eyes open again, it's not because you chose to. It's because your body jolted just once, like a hiccup of panic from somewhere deep inside your chest. A warning, a reflex. You suck in a ragged breath, and even that feels like work. The air bites, your lungs burn, everything is slow. You're still wrapped around the buoy, that part is good. You haven't drifted far, though, you wouldn't know. The world around you is still painted in fog and silver silence. But the light has changed, dimmer, or maybe it's your vision starting to fail. You try to move your legs. One kicks weakly, the other doesn't respond. You murmur something to yourself, encouragement, curse, prayer. It all blends together now. Your thoughts wander. You remember a joke from someone on the crew? A young guy with wild hair and a lopsided grin. If you ever fall in down here, don't worry about swimming. Just hold your breath and hope penguins know CPR. You'd laughed at the time. Now you'd trade a finger to see a penguin with a medical bag. You glance down at the water, reflexively scanning for movement. No penguins, no fish, just your reflection, distorted, gray, slack-jawed. You don't look like someone clinging to life. You look like someone fading. Your mouth's dry now, not cracked, parched. You lick your lips, but your tongue feels foreign, like something left too long in the freezer. You think about water, sweet, clear water. Not this salt-laced brine slapping your side. Not the moisture you can't drink. Real water. Bottled. Cold. With condensation on the label. You imagine it so vividly you can feel it. And then your mind betrays you. Your hand slips toward the sea. Just a little? Just one thought. What if I take just a sip? But you stop. You jerk your hand back like a touch fire. A mainstream maritime fact, drinking seawater accelerates dehydration. Within hours, it causes vomiting, confusion, organ failure. Sailors who drink it don't last long. You knew that. You almost didn't care. You rest your head back against the buoy, closing your eyes again. Not from fatigue, though it's there, but because you're scared of what you almost did. You were ready to drink death just to feel something. That's not nothing. That's a line. And you nearly crossed it. The wind shifts, slightly warmer, or maybe less cruel. The fog breaks for a heartbeat, just a flicker of light through the mist, golden watery as if the sun is trying to peek in. Then it's gone again. But the moment lingers. You inhale slowly. Your lips part, and this time you don't whisper nonsense. You say your name, just your name, like a roll call to yourself, like a tether to identity. It's dry and cracked and barely audible. But it's yours. You look down at your hand. The glove is stuck to the metal now, frozen in place. You don't try to pry it loose. Just keep your fingers inside and hope the circulation returns eventually. Time passes, you think. You start to count again. You remember counting in school, backwards, forward. It never made a difference, but it gave the minutes something to do. You count by fives now, 5, 10, 15. Then you lose track and start again. You don't cry, can't, but the tears are there in spirit. Then you think about your sister. She sent you off with a thermos of soup and a note in your bag you never read. Said, "Don't open it unless you miss me." You wish you had it now. You imagine what it said. Something dumb, something sweet. You feel her laugh in your chest like a memory you forgot you still owned. You open your eyes again. Still water. Still alive. You whisper, "Hold on." And this time you believe it. It starts with a ripple. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just a subtle movement across the surface of the water. You're so far gone into the rhythm of your own breath that it takes a moment to register. But then it happens again. Slight, intentional. You lift your head. The fog thins just enough for you to see it movement near the edge of your little floating world. Low, dark shapes gliding just beneath the surface, sleek and slow. At first your heart jumps in terror. Seal orca. Your mind flashes through every survival documentary and half-remembered sea legend about what swims in Antarctic waters, the ones that come when the body stops fighting back. You hold your breath. Then one breaks the surface. A seal. Not massive, not particularly aggressive-looking. It glances toward you lazily unbothered by the strange, shaking creature clinging to a buoy. Then another joins it, and another. There are 4, maybe 5, circling loosely. Their presence is quiet, curious, not predatory. They drift closer, surfacing in slow practiced motions. You and they exist in an unspoken truce. I won't disturb you, and maybe you won't disturb me. For a moment the fear leaves you. They float there, eyes black and unreadable. One lets out a wet snort and disappears under again. You watch the water ripple around it, then smooth. It's strange their calm becomes yours. You've been utterly alone in your mind for what feels like a lifetime. Now you're surrounded by life that couldn't care less if you belong here or not. They don't judge, don't rescue, don't abandon. They just exist. And it grounds you. Some sailors say the sea sends messengers when you're closest to giving up. Maybe they're right, or maybe the seals are just bored. You don't move, you barely breathe, you're afraid even blinking might break the moment. One of them floats nearer, almost within arm's reach. It blinks head tilted, as if asking, "Are you going to keep clinging to that thing, or do you want to learn how to float?" You half smile. "Not today," you whisper. It blinks again, then disappears beneath the water, silent as breath. A few minutes pass. Then the rest are gone too. No splash, no showy farewell, just gone. And the silence returns. But it's different now. Not cruel, not empty. Just quiet. You rest your chin on the buoy. The metal's warmed slightly from your skin, or maybe from the seal's curiosity. Either way, it feels less like punishment. The snow starts again. Light, lazy flakes drifting down. This time they do stick. They gather on the back of your neck, melt into your collar, rest along your soaked gloves. You feel them without feeling them. That's the strange part. Your body registers their weight, but not their chill. You know what that means? The cold is winning. You begin to hum, soft, tuneless. Something your mom used to sing while washing dishes. You don't know why it comes to you now. Maybe because you're craving something familiar, something human. The hum warms your throat just a little. You think about your bunk on the ship, how it always creaked when you turned, how you used to complain that it was too narrow. Right now, you'd give your last breath to crawl into that coffin-sized mattress and sleep for 12 hours. You'd give everything just to hear someone curse about the coffee being cold. Perspective. That's what the ocean gives you, whether you want it or not. You shift slightly. Your arm has gone completely numb. You're not sure if you can hold on much longer. But then you remember the seals, and something in you says just a little longer. Just until sunrise, or the next horn, or the next ripple, just until something changes. You whisper it again, just a little longer, and the sea as always says nothing. But this time it feels like listening. You can't remember when night fell. It's not the kind of darkness that arrives suddenly with dramatic color shifts and obvious finality. No, this one just settles in around you like a tired sigh. A gradual dimming. The fog swallows whatever remains of the light, and now even the water has forgotten how to reflect. You blink often, not to stay awake, but to make sure your eyes are still open. Everything looks the same either way. The sea no longer moves in peaks or pulses, it glides. You float in a shadowed stillness so complete it almost feels sacred, but not safe. Nothing is ever safe out here. You speak your name again. This time, it's quieter. Not because you've lost hope, but because you're hoarding energy. Every syllable feels like currency. You spend it carefully. You try to recall what the body can endure. You know the facts. Maritime survival tables say after 24 hours in near-freezing water, even partial exposure can cause irreversible physical damage, hallucinations, organ failure, hypothermic stupor. And yet you're still here. Your skin's long since gone numb. Your thoughts aren't far behind. You try to calculate how long it's been since you fell overboard. A day, two. No, wait. There was fog, then light, then fog again. You think you counted one nightfall already. This must be the second. 40 hours, maybe more. You stopped tracking after the ship's horn vanished. You're drifting now, mentally and physically. You try to hold on to something solid, a memory. You think of your father's hands, leathery, thick-fingered, always smelling like diesel and salt. You remember being a kid and pretending his hand was an anchor when you felt scared. He told you once when the ocean talks, you shut up and listen. Right now the ocean is quiet, and that terrifies you more than any wave. You shiver involuntarily, a full-body spasm that steals your breath. Then another sound, distant, barely perceptible. Thwap, thwap, thwap. Your heart stalls. You freeze like even your blood wants to listen. Then it comes again. Thwap, thwap, thwap. A helicopter. You're sure of it. You tilt your head back too fast and the world spins, but you see nothing. The sound's coming from somewhere behind the curtain of fog. High, muffled. You try to scream, but what comes out is a croak. A sickly rasp. You try again? Here, I'm here. The fog answers with silence. You reach for the whistle on your jacket, but it's gone, lost to the sea hours ago. You slap the buoy with your palm. Thwap, thwap, thwap! It's pitiful, useless. The rotor sound grows faint. Your heart does something strange, something panicked and small. You scream again, hoarse, desperate. Please hear. You see nothing, just gray. The sound fades. Gone. Like everything else, you sag forward. Let your head rest against the buoy's cold skin. You can feel your pulse in your temples. Not steady, not strong. For a second, you almost convince yourself you imagined the helicopter. That's how fragile you've become, questioning the reality of sound. Sailors still argue whether hope at sea is a blessing or a burden. You're starting to understand both sides. The air grows colder again. Your breath fogs and hangs like tiny ghosts. You whisper, barely audible, "Don't go." It's unclear whether you're talking to the helicopter, the night, or your own consciousness. You don't get an answer. You don't expect one. The only thing you can do is wait and hold on a little longer. Just until morning, or something else arrives. You dream with your eyes open, not like the daydreams from school or the stories you told yourself as a child. These are something else, images that crawl up from the back of your brain and spill into the sea around you until you're not sure what's memory and what's illusion. Your father again. This time he's on a dock coiling a rope. He looks up and smiles but says nothing, just nods once and points behind you. You turn, and nothing's there. Just black water and fog and the metal bite of the buoy still pressed into your chest. The hallucinations are getting clearer. That's not a good sign. You know what's happening. Your brain's trying to protect you from panic, from pain, from the body's slow and methodical shutdown. It's making stories even if they hurt. You blink the images away. You still want truth even if it's cold and empty. Then something shifts. Not a vision, not a ghost. Light. You freeze. Squint. There it is, dim but real. A glow off in the distance, faint, pulsing, maybe a ship, maybe rescue. Maybe not. But you're tired of guessing. You muster what strength you can. Raise one arm, wave. It's a sad gesture. Your hand barely lifts above the buoy. You do it again, then another flicker. Closer. You try to shout. Nothing. So you just keep waving. The light draws nearer. It's yellow, low on the water. Not a ship's mast, not high enough, but steady, deliberate. Then you see it. A skiff. Small, slow, its bow breaking the water like a whisper. A figure sits inside, bundled thick, one hand on the tiller, the other holding a spotlight. The beam swings, searching, then lands on you. It holds. You close your eyes, dizzy with disbelief. Then you open them again just to make sure it's not another trick. The light's still there, and the figure's calling out, words you can't understand. Then the engine cuts. Silence. The boat glides in. You don't wave now. You can't. You just blink. Once, twice, and pray they see it. They do. The skiff bumps gently against your buoy. The figure leans over. A gloved hand reaches out strong, steady. It touches your arm. You flinch from the warmth, not pain, just surprise. Then they grip your jacket and pull. You're too limp to help. You slide from the buoy like seaweed pulled from a rock. It holds you briefly, like it's reluctant to let go, then releases. Your legs hit the hull. Your back lands on cold fiberglass. You gasp. Then everything turns to static. The sky, the boat, the stars. You feel hands working, loosening straps, tugging zippers. A voice muttering low and focused. You want to say thank you. You want to say I held on. But your throat fails you, and your eyes close. The last thing you feel is that gloved hand gripping yours. Not gently, but firmly. Like an anchor. Warmth hurts. It surprises you. You expected relief. Maybe even comfort. But when warmth finally touches your skin, it feels like punishment. Sharp, invasive, almost cruel. Like your nerve endings are waking up angry, demanding explanations for what you've put them through. Your eyelids flutter. Blurry light bleeds into view. Golden flickering close. A lantern. A small cabin window. You don't know where you are yet. Only that it's not the ocean. Not anymore. The smell confirms it first. Not salt, not diesel, not ice. Smoke, kerosene, wool. You're wrapped in blankets. Scratchy, heavy ones. Too many to count. They're stacked on you like the roof of a tent. Your arms are pinned. You try to move your hands, but your fingers won't obey. They twitch. That's all. Someone notices. Easy, a voice says. Low, steady. The kind of voice used to coax animals or small children out of corners. You shift your gaze slowly. A figure sits nearby, backlit by a stove's red glow. They're watching you. Not intensely, just watching. Like someone guarding a fragile candle. You're lucky, they say. You blink. They offer you water, warm in a metal cup. You try to sip, but your lips barely part. They tilt it carefully. A small trickle reaches your tongue. You flinch at the taste. It's real and impossibly sweet. Not because it's flavored, because it isn't salt. You try to speak. Only a rasp comes out. The person nods like they understand anyway. You were out there 48 hours, they say. We almost didn't see the buoy. Fog's thick enough to hide a mountain. You want to ask questions. Where you are, who they are, how they found you. But your brain isn't ready. It's still replaying the sound of rotors. The thwap, thwap, thwap that faded before you were pulled from the buoy. Were those search crews a mirage? The same boat you're in now. Sailors still argue whether rescue is an act of skill or blind luck. You're not in the mood to debate. You drift again. Not into sleep, into something between memory and hallucination. You're back on the buoy. Only this time it's not water below. It's snow. Soft and endless. You're floating through the sky. The seals are flying beside you. One winks. Another holds a flare in its mouth like a cigar. You almost laugh. Then you wake again. This time the figure is closer. They hold your hand. Their glove is off. Their skin is warm. You focus on that. A real hand, human, alive. Yours tries to squeeze back, fails. But the effort is enough. They notice. You're okay, they say. And you believe them. Not because you feel okay, but because the words are offered without condition. Not a promise. Not a platitude. A statement. You're okay. You think of the buoy, of the seals, of the creeping fog, of the whisper of your own name repeated to yourself just to stay sane. You think of the moment the boat touched your shoulder. That sudden shift from certain death to maybe. Then you think of your family. The letter you never wrote. The one your sister tucked in your bag. The lunch you skipped. The jokes you didn't laugh at fully. You're not overwhelmed by emotion. You're just aware. Aware of everything. The heat. The ache. The hum of the small cabin generator. The drip of melting snow from the eaves. Alive. You are still here. You whisper it. Still here. The figure nods. Maybe they heard, maybe not. But it doesn't matter. You close your eyes again. And this time you don't dream of frost. You dream of shore. You wake to a sound you didn't think you'd ever hear again, water lapping gently against a hull. But this time you're not in it. You're beside it, dry, inside. The motion is there. Yes, the familiar sway of a vessel moving with the tide, but it's distant, softened by layers of wood and wool and something else you can't quite name. It feels like safety. Your eyes open slowly. The cabin is dim. Light leaks in through a porthole, soft golden. You hear someone boiling water. You smell bread, fresh, toasted. For a moment you think you're dead, but your stomach growls, and that's how you know. Dead people don't get hungry. You try to sit up. The pain is sharp, but not unbearable. Your joints ache, your limbs are stiff, but something inside you has clicked back into place, something beyond muscle and bone, something that had started to unravel out on that buoy. You're not all the way back yet, but you're no longer leaving. The door creaks. The same figure from before steps in. This time their hood is down. Weathered face, sun-leathered skin, eyes as steady as a lighthouse beam. They nod at you. You're awake, they say. Didn't think you'd make it through that second night. You try to speak, your voice cracks. Where am I? Fishing vessel, they say. Just a scout. We were setting traps near the shelf when we saw something blinking through the fog. Didn't expect it to be a person. You close your eyes, remembering the blur of light. The way your name felt like a ghost in your throat. How long, you ask? 48 hours, give or take, they say. You were hypothermic, hallucinating, and still clinging to that buoy like it owed you money. You laugh, just once. It hurts, but it feels real. They hand you a cup. Warm tea. Steam curls into your face. You smell citrus and something sweet. You should eat, they say. You nod. You take a bite of toast. It tastes like childhood, like safety, like the sun finally remembered how to rise. They sit across from you, quiet, the kind of silence that doesn't need to be filled. You speak first. I thought I was going to die out there. They nod. You probably should have. You don't take it as cruelty, just honesty. You weren't wearing a beacon, they add. No tracker, no mayday. I wasn't supposed to be on deck. Well, they say the ocean doesn't care what you were supposed to be doing. Another bite. You chew slowly, savoring every molecule. I saw things, you whisper. Voices, seals, a bird, I think. Even heard a helicopter. They nod again. You probably did. The patrol's been sweeping east. You just fell through the cracks. You let that sit for a moment. Then you ask the question you've been circling since the light first hit your eyes. Why did you stop? The captain shrugs. Gut feeling. My deckhand saw something in the fog. Almost didn't turn around. But we did. You want to thank them, but you can't. Not yet. Not with words. So you finish your tea. Then quietly you ask for your clothes. They hand you a dry bundle, clean, simple, donated from the small stores they carry. You dress slowly. Every button is a victory. Every layer another stitch in your return to the world. You step out onto the deck. The sun is rising, just barely a thin ribbon of gold cutting through endless gray. You stare at it, not because it's beautiful, because it's there. You take a deep breath, and this time the air doesn't hurt. The light stings your eyes, but you don't look away. You stand on the deck wrapped in borrowed clothes, the wool scratching your skin just enough to remind you that it's real, that you're real, that the story didn't end with a frozen buoy drifting into a nameless fog. Below you, the water ripples gently. Not the violent, bone-crushing chop of survival, but a tired sea, lulled to sleep by its own exhaustion. You recognize the rhythm. It mirrors something inside you. The captain joins you. They don't say anything at first, just watches the horizon the way only people who live by it do. A certain reverence, a quiet truce with something wild. Your ship's probably 200 nautical miles east by now, they say, assuming they didn't turn back. You nod. You don't need them to explain what that means. 200 miles is a long conversation to have with a search crew and a compass, especially when no one saw you fall. I should have clipped in, you murmur. They grunt. Most people only make that mistake once. You're lucky you get to learn from it. You stare at the waves. I didn't think I'd make it. They nod. I didn't either. You looked like a ghost when we pulled you out. You want to ask more about the moment they found you, about what your body looked like draped across that buoy, about what they thought when they saw your face. But some things aren't meant to be retold. Some stories end best in silence. You sit down on a crate near the stern. The motion of the boat rocks you gently. Your hands are steady now, still red, still swollen, but moving. The captain hands you a small packet, an emergency chocolate bar. You tear it open and take a bite. It tastes like sugar and salt and warmth and rescue, like something you hadn't even realized you missed. You chew slowly. A memory surfaces. Your brother once told you the best candy bar he ever ate was the one he found at the bottom of his pack during a blizzard. Food's only as good as how desperate you are when you find it. He was right. You hear the buzz of a radio inside the cabin. Updates, coordinates, reports. Coast Guard's going to want to talk to you, the captain says. When we get back. You nod again. You don't dread it. In fact, part of you looks forward to it because you want to tell them don't stop looking. People can survive. You want to tell them what it feels like to hold on to metal so long it becomes part of you. What it's like to speak your own name into the void just to remember how it sounds. What it's like to almost drink seawater and then decide no, not yet. And what it's like when a hand finally reaches down and pulls you from the edge. You'll tell them when the time's right. For now you lean back. The clouds are breaking, not entirely, just enough. A ray of light cuts across the deck and lands on your knee. You stare at it for a long time, like you're seeing sunlight for the first time. There's a quiet kind of healing that happens when no one is watching. Not the dramatic movie version, no swelling music or cinematic close-ups, just the small things. The way your fingers begin to twitch without pain, the way your breath evens out, the way the cold recedes from your bones like a tide pulling back after a long siege. You sit on that deck for hours, not moving much, not needing to. The boat hums beneath you, the low engine thrum like a lullaby. The world no longer feels like it's spinning, just swaying. The crew keeps their distance, respectful, not cold. They know the difference between a man who needs saving and a man who needs space. One of them, young with wide shoulders and wind-burned cheeks, comes out and offers you a mug of broth. You nod your thanks. He leaves without a word. You sip slowly. It's the kind of taste that has no name, just warmth, salt, life. Your brain begins to sort through the fog of memory, pulling pieces from the last 2 days like wreckage washed ashore. You remember the buoy? The way it groaned when you moved. The way it held you even when you stopped holding yourself. You remember the seals, their silent eyes, their calm indifference. You remember the moment you nearly let go, and the moment you didn't. A mainstream maritime fact: in cold water, hypothermia doesn't feel like freezing. It feels like burning. Then it feels like surrender. But survival, that feels like this. Quiet, slow, undeniable. You stare out at the horizon. The fog has lifted, revealing a sky so wide it hurts to look at. You wonder how far you drifted. Not just in distance, but in belief. You're not the same person who checked that hydraulic brace 2 days ago. That person was efficient, focused, unbreakable. Now you've cracked. But cracks let light in. You pull the wool collar tighter around your neck and let the sun hit your face. You think about your family, your crewmates. You wonder if they know. You wonder if the ship doubled back. You wonder if someone stayed up all night scanning radar screens, whispering, "Come on, just show me something." You hope so. You want to believe that someone worried. But even if they didn't, even if your absence was just a brief inconvenience, you survived. You did, and that has to be enough. For now. A quirky ocean fact: wandering albatross can sleep while gliding over the sea wings, locked in place, riding air currents with eyes half closed. They trust the wind not to drop them. You never trusted the ocean, but maybe you can learn to trust yourself. You take another sip of broth. You watch the sea roll past. You whisper a thank you, not to anyone in particular, just outward. And in the movement of the waves, you almost hear it answered. Land appears like a rumor, faint, distant, almost an illusion against the gray horizon. A dark smudge that slowly begins to sharpen into cliffs and ridges and uneven lines of shoreline. You're not even sure at first if you believe it, if it's really there, or just something your brain is inventing again, like the seals, the flying bird, the sound of the helicopter. But the crew sees it too. One of them points. Another adjusts the heading slightly. No celebration, just the silent acknowledgement that the world you left behind is returning. It doesn't feel like home. Not yet. The boat moves steady, carving through the water like it was always meant to carry survivors, not just fish. You stand near the rail, the cold wind slipping through the collar of your borrowed jacket. It bites, but doesn't pierce. Not anymore. Your eyes stay fixed on the shore. You remember what it was like to stare in every direction and see nothing. To be surrounded by endlessness. To realize your voice was smaller than the waves. Now there's something solid ahead. It makes your knees weak, not from fear, but from a strange kind of emotional vertigo. You've been floating so long, even the idea of standing on unmoving ground feels surreal. A memory surfaces, a story you once read about early explorers who, after months at sea, wept at the first sight of moss. Not gold, not land, not trees, just green, just life. You get it now? You can smell earth on the wind, distant but real, damp soil, salt grass, wood smoke, all of it sharper than perfume. The dock is small, weathered boards and rusted ladders. No ceremony, no cameras. Just a few people waiting bundled in parkas, unsure what to expect. The captain helps you disembark. You wobble at first. Your legs forget how land works. You crouch slightly just to catch your balance, just to feel the ground with your hands. It's rough, splintered. It's perfect. Someone hands you a towel. Someone else speaks into a radio. You're not really listening. You're watching the water, that endless shifting mirror. It doesn't seem like the enemy now. Just a place you were, a place you survived. A voice calls your name. You turn. A medic. They gesture gently. You follow, stumbling into a shelter with a heater and dry blankets and a clipboard full of questions you're not ready to answer. They ask if you remember your name. You nod. They ask if you remember how long you were out. You shake your head. 48 hours, someone says from the doorway, at least. The medic's eyes widen. You offer a weak smile. You lie back, let the heat wash over you again. Your hand grips the arm of the chair, not out of fear, but to feel something solid. Something not drifting. The medic asks if you're okay. You think about it. You're not warm, not entirely. You're not healed, not fully, but you're here. Still here. You nod. Yes. The questions don't stop once you're back on land. Everyone wants details, what you remember, what you felt, how you managed to hold on that long. The Coast Guard logs your statement. A doctor takes your vitals. A logistics officer asks you to walk them through every hour like trauma can be plotted with coordinates. You give them what you can, but some things don't translate. You can describe the cold, but not the weight of it. You can explain the buoy, but not the silence that wrapped around you like a second skin. You can list the facts, temperatures, gear, survival times, but how do you explain the bird, the one that landed, the one that shouldn't have been there? Was it real? You still don't know. You're kept for observation, then cleared for release. Your crew is notified. The boat that left without you, turned around 2 hours too late, is already back at harbor. They're shocked, relieved, embarrassed. The reunion isn't dramatic. Your captain hugs you, says your name in disbelief. One of the engineers, usually silent, presses a hand to your shoulder and walks away without a word. No apologies, none needed. You're alive, that's enough. Later, one of them jokes, "Guess you just wanted a solo vacation." You laugh, and this time it doesn't hurt. You're given space, a warm bunk, a real meal, the kind that doesn't come in foil packets. You sleep for 16 hours straight. When you wake, the world is gentler. The storm has passed. The sea is calm again. You walk along the dock in clean clothes and shoes that grip solid ground. You watch the water like someone visiting a hospital they just left. Thankful, wary. You wonder if you'll ever go back out there. Of course you will. Not today, but someday, because you know now the sea doesn't give closure. Only tides, only echoes, only questions. And you're not afraid of questions anymore. You walk farther along the pier. The sun rises behind you, slow and golden. It doesn't feel like a new day. It feels like yours. You find the buoy weeks later. Not the one you clung to exactly, but one just like it. identical in shape and paint crusted with barnacles along the base. It sits abandoned on shore, half buried in gravel, waiting to be scrapped or salvaged. You run your fingers across its surface. Cold, dented, familiar. You close your eyes and just for a moment you're back there. Not in pain, not in fear, just floating, breathing, waiting. It's strange how a thing that once felt like a prison can become a monument. You sit beside it, not to mourn, not to celebrate, to remember. A small group of school kids passes behind you with a guide explaining how the buoys track salinity and water temperature. You smile. That's all it is to them, data equipment. Just another dot on a spreadsheet. They'll never know what it held for you. You don't tell them. You sit until the sun begins to lower. The sky turns the same bruised blue it did on your second night out. But this time you're watching from land. Warm, dry, alive. You reach into your jacket pocket and pull out a small item, something the crew gave you before you left. A charm, a tiny carved seal, as a joke, or a memory. You hold it in your palm, thumb, smoothing over its polished back. You don't know why you brought it, or maybe you do. You walk to the edge of the dock, open your hand, and drop it. It vanishes into the water with barely a ripple. You watch it go, then turn back to shore. You've told your story now. Not to the sea, but to someone listening. You can let go. You take a deep breath, no frost, no pain, just breath. And you whisper to yourself the 3 words that carried you through every wave, every hallucination, every quiet moment of doubt. Still here now. Word count 160. Wind down final 300 words. Now the sea is flat, peaceful. A sheet of gray-blue glass stretching to the horizon, soft and slow as if it's been tamed for the night. The sun has dropped behind a low curtain of clouds, leaving the sky dim but not dark. Muted oranges fading into slate. You sit by the window or maybe in bed, letting the rhythm of these words match the quiet rise and fall of breath. The echo of waves is gone now, replaced by silence, or perhaps something softer. The kind of silence that cradles, the kind that comes after surviving. You're safe now, far from the cold, far from the fear. If you close your eyes, you can still feel the ocean, not as threat, but as memory. A rhythm, a pulse. The way the water moved beneath the buoy, the whisper of seals drifting nearby, the hush of fog breathing across the surface. Let it go. The story is done. The sea has taken what it wanted, but it gave something back too. A quiet strength, a reminder that even in the loneliest corners of the world, survival is possible, even when no one is watching, even when hope is small. So rest. The water is calm, the wind has softened, and the stars, though distant, are steady. Sleep now. You made it through. You are still here.